Warning: the following video contains explicit content, language, and crime scene footage. Therefore, it's not meant for children or those viewers who might find it disturbing. It is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I'm running a little bit behind schedule. Just let me know if you can hear me. Hi Amy. No, you're not that early, honey. Hi MT. Hi Aurora. Yeah, I need to remember to put it as Central Time. Oh, that's nice. But no one ever said I was sure. Oh my gosh, MT, that is hilarious. Oh, right now I'm having a attack because I can't find my. Oh, yes. Hang on. I need my hoodie because whoops, I'm chilly tonight. Just a little, just a little chilly. Oh, good, Aurora. Thank you. Okay, Mary, I will try to remember that, MT. I will. I will try to remember that. Can you hear me squeaky chair? Oh, for those of you who are watching and just coming in, please hit the like and share button. It really helps our algorithms. I am breaking up some. Can you hear me okay now? Oh boy. Let's look at these things. Well, that don't make no sense. Is this better? Is this better? Better or worse? Was better or worse? Oh, that could be it. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, put your jacket right. Yeah, well, the dryer's downstairs and I just don't have time. I've been busy. Busy. How is everyone? Did y'all have a good Friday? Oh, I'm chilly. Oh, good. Just um, why people? Sorry, I don't. This is. Oh, okay. Alrighty. All right. It was people trying to help me about with what I discussed last night with Greg and Ellie, and they're doing good. I did clean and I did some writing, and it popped into my head, so I had to use it. Um, Hang on. I'm telling them I'll do a live. We'll chat with you later. Perhaps if I shut my phone off, it would help. Oh, I'm sorry you're dealing with some depression, Amy. Do you see a doctor? A therapist or anything? That always helps. A counselor? Anything like that helps. I did have a good day. I did. Um, had a great night last night with my grandbabies after the show. Uh, that fan's off. After the show, Malay and I made Rice Krispie treats, and just spending time with her makes me feel really good. Hi, Tish. Okay, good, Amy. Always talk to your doctor, and if your doctor won't listen, find a new one or ask to speak to the nurse practitioner. That's who got my stuff started. I love my nurse practitioner. Yeah, writing is my therapy sometimes too. Oh, brr. I know it's like 99 degrees outside. Kevin has the air conditioning on, and I'm sitting here cold. and I just noticed dust in my fan. That is not my ADD. I refuse to believe it's my ADD. There we go. Oh, well, now I do have a fan. No, Aurora, I do have a fan. I have to have it on to keep my computer cool. And I can't, I wish I could help that, but I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But it's supposed to be a quiet fan. I can still hear it. Oh. So yeah, every time you hit the like button, a fairy gets its wings. Every time you share a YouTube channel, a fairy gets its wings. But I had a really a decent day. Got up a little early. Thought I was doing something with my husband, and I didn't need to, and I got all dressed up, and I had no place to go. So I decided I'm just going to change my clothes and work, and I got some work done. I'm teaching myself right now how to use the DaVinci Resolve video editing software. That's pretty cool. Okay, Clarence. I'll just smack my muses. Don't smack your muses. They don't like that. They'll get angry and go away. That's something I've learned. Just waiting for some more people to show up. Show of hands, who follows Law Talk with Mike? Just raise your hand in the chat. I wonder how many people are watching on the other channels, because I have, this goes to my Facebook page and it goes to both of my YouTube pages. So do y'all watch, does anybody here follow Law Talk with Mike? Oh, I love Biggin and Law Talk with Mike. I love those two. I do. They are two of my favorites. Cool beans, Mary. They're on a timer out right now. They had me rearrange the beginning of my story, a whole different start. Oh, yeah, Aurora. Yeah, your characters will do that. Yeah, go search for Biggin 2, B-I-G-E-N, and then the Roman numeral 2, and Law Talk with Mike, and I think you will enjoy watching those guys. I got you hooked on Biggin. Yeah, he's a good guy. He is. I sent him an email and said, hey, if you want to, after your show tonight, come join mine. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, who else besides me is following the Chad Doerman case? Did you guys see the hearing from earlier today? We're going to play that. Biggin is funny. But yeah, we are going to watch the hearing that took place today, and I have to give credit to WLWT9, I think, or WLWT TV, for this coverage. And we shall
breaking
watch
back
it
into
together.
coverages right now. Chad Doerman is back in court. Yesterday, he was facing even more charges, 21 additional charges for the murder of his 3 boys. We're going to take you live out to the courtroom right now as the judge has just walked into the room. Chad Doerman listening to the judge right now.
Yeah, I saw that, Amy. That's what this hearing is about.
You're on the record. All right, the court's going to call 23 CR 0407, State of Ohio versus Chad C. Doerman. Are you Mr. Doerman? Yes.
I'm just asking if you all can hear it okay? because some of the sounds from some of the this was the best sound quality that I could find today. I don't know if I don't know, Aurora. I just don't know. Okay, you can hear it good. You can hear it good. You can hear it good. Can you tell as an author and no words?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Myers, Greg Myers is present as well.
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Haynes is present. Mr. Mark DeCalby, prosecutor for the county. Ms. Laura Barron Allen, and Mr. Clay Clark, correct?
Correct.
All right, let's make that record. Ms. Marcone is the court reporter today, and pursuant to Ohio Rules of Appellate Procedure 9A and B, the court is going to swear you in, Ms. Marcone. If you would please raise your
He's
right
swearing in the court
hand.
reporter.
Having been duly appointed as an official court reporter for the Common Police Court of Ohio,
I've never seen this.
do solemnly swear.
I've never seen a court reporter get sworn in before, so I found that a little interesting.
And the constitutional laws of the state of Ohio, and to faithfully and impartially discharge the official duties of the court reporter. Would you please say that you will? I will. Thank you. Would you please sign? Thank you.
So I wonder,
So, for the record, for purposes of these proceedings,
so my question is, while the court reporter is getting sworn in, who is transcribing or, taking down the record of her being sworn in? I'm sorry, it's just a silly question that I had. It was a thought that came to my mind, okay? So she's going to be the official court reporter. She's just been sworn in. Well, who is taking down the record before she was sworn in? It's just a question I have. If anybody knows, let me know.
the court will order that Ms. Marcone will be the official transcriber of these proceedings without any further prior trial court approval.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Mr. Haynes and Mr. Myers, you file a motion to appoint lead counsel, co-counsel. You want to be heard on that before we get into the arraignment?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. We just submitted it along with an entry Ms. Barron had signed that on behalf of the state.
So-
We're both certified, I'm certified as co-counsel.
So
Mr.
Haynes and Myers are
certified
going to
as
be
lead
his
counsel.
attorneys.
We've already talked with Mr. Doerman. He is indigent, eligible for public defender representation. We'd ask the court to appoint us if they would be appropriate.
All right.
I'm not sure, Amy.
Thank you, Judge.
Here, so ordered. I
Oh.
signed that.
That is going to be the judge's clerk, okay? She's the one who will, it varies from state to state, but she will get him the files that he needs. She may be in charge of all the evidence and keeping track of it. She's there to assist the judge. So that, I'm going to assume, from past experience, that is his law clerk. Whoops.
Entry. Instruct the clerk, and she knows this, to
Yeah, that's his clerk.
send a notice to the Supreme Court of this
Yeah.
indictment, but I want to put that on the record. Also, Mr. Haynes and Mr. Myers, there's a form from the Supreme Court. It's called an appointment form of trial counsel. I think the PD or public defender prepares that. Do you know what I'm speaking of?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Haynes and I will take care of that after we're done on record today.
That's good.
And I think that is done because this could potentially be a death penalty case. So because of that, the attorneys have to be, if it's a death penalty case, then the lawyers have to be certified in death penalty cases. the guy who, did your will for you, is probably not a death penalty certified attorney. Does that make sense?
We'll get to your staff, and I think it falls to the court then to forward that to the Ohio Supreme Court.
I think you're right. And then the court will send its own entry to the Supreme Court verifying that the clerk has sent a copy of the indictment to the Supreme Court. So I'll leave that record. All right.
Yes, Amy, I think you're right.
Does Mr. Doerman have a copy of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
You've already provided that for
Yes,
him?
we went over it with this fate would have it in the jail last night. Due to certain security restrictions he's facing at this stage, he didn't physically have a copy, but we gave him one. We understand that jail staff also alerted him to the existence of the indictment shortly after it was filed.
All right. As to Mr. Doerman, Mr. Haynes, and Mr. Myers, is he eligible then for public defender?
He is, Your Honor.
All right. The court will sign that entry.
Now, I don't know if these attorneys were court appointed or if they volunteered. I don't know yet. I'm going to do some more digging on that. And I don't know if they are just his attorneys for now to get him through this hearing, or if they will be with him throughout the entire process. I'm just not sure.
Now, relative to arraignment, my preference is, and thank you, Ms. Allen, for submitting to the court the possible penalties. I went over it. I think we also, hopefully, the defense got a copy of it.
We did.
All right. So what I'd like to do, and my preference would be, Ms. Barron Allen, like the last couple of cases we've had, I'd love for you to go through each count independently. Put on the record what the state believes the possible penalties are. Then I'm going to turn to Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes to see if they agree.
That was my fault.
Ask Mr. Doerman if he understands, and then we'll move to count 2, count 3, count 4, count 5, all the way through. Are you okay to do that?
Your Honor, may I address the court from the council table?
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. And yes, I could absolutely do that for the court. I wasn't sure since counts 1 through 3 are all charged under 290301A, if you'd like to address them in group.
Individually, yeah, thank you.
That's going to be the
Count 1,
prosecutor.
Aggravated murder pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 290301A. There are multiple aggravating circumstances specifications attached to the underlying charge, including victim under 13 specification, force of conduct specification, felony murder specification, and firearm specification. The possible penalty, if convicted on the underlying charge of aggravated murder, as well as any of the aggravating circumstance specifications, is recommendation of death, life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The firearm specification carries with it 3 years mandatory, which must be served prior to and consecutive to any imposed prison sentence. There's also a possible fine of $25,000. If convicted of aggravated murder without any aggravating circumstance specification, the possible penalties would be life without parole, life with...
It seems to me like she's speaking rather quickly, but what she's going over right now is what the possible sentences could be if he's found guilty on these charges. And there are different levels of murder. There's aggravated, there's just all sorts of different levels of murder. But 3 counts each for each of the boys, and I'm not sure how that breaks down. I would have to ask. Yes. Amy, that's my question too. But it could be that they're basically nutshelling it. It could be 3 counts of aggravated murder with a weapon, 3 counts of aggravated murder, blah, 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 another 3 counts, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if this is set in stone. That it should be that this is what they're going to, or what they have charged him with. And I think by the time it gets to court, it could change. By the time it gets to trial. But I was really surprised that he pled not guilty. I don't know if he's going to go for an insanity plea. I don't know. I just don't know. I need to do some more digging on that. And I think the 8 counts of kidnapping. I know the 3 boys were in the house. The mom, so the 3 boys, the mom, and the stepdaughter. So that was 5 people in the house. Now, it could be they're adding additional charges for when he went out and grabbed the one little boy and brought him back to the house. I don't know. There's a lot to parse out through here. And I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not giving legal advice. This is for educational purposes only.
With the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years, life with the possibility of parole after 20 years. And again, the firearm specification would carry that 3 years mandatory, which must be served prior and consecutive to any post-prison sentence. Again, same fine.
All right. Does the defense agree with the recitation relative to count 1, Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes?
We do, Jay.
And Mr. Doerman, do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ask the count 2, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Count 2 is also charged pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 290301A, aggravated murder and unspecified felony. And again, there are multiple aggravating circumstances specifications attached to that charge. The victim under 13 specification, course of conduct specification, felony murder specification, and the firearm specification.
See, I muted the mic so you wouldn't hear me chewing my gum. Sorry. Okay, so I understand the 9 counts now. Okay? You should be able to hear me now. I unmuted my microphone. Can you hear me now? 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 Hang on. Okay, can you hear me now? I hate the lag. Okay, good. So now I understand the 9 counts of aggravated murder. Okay, so there is aggravated murder of a child under the age of 13, and aggravated murder with a weapon. So they can charge each of those against him for each of the boys. Does that make sense? Because they're not charging him with just murder. Okay, there's murder, there's extenuating circumstances, there's murder I mean, you have different levels. You've got murder with a weapon, murder by car, murder by poison, whatever. So that's what they're doing. And I think in almost every state, there is that aggravated murder of someone under the age of a certain age. And there's also in some states a classification, and I forget what it's called, but murder of a child that you had, it's an extra additional charge, like murder of a child you had guardianship over, or you were a parent of, or a step parent of. And I think that's what they did with the Felicia Stout case. I'm not sure. But we'll get back to this.
The possible penalties if convicted of the underlying crime of aggravated murder, as well as any of the aggravating circumstance specifications, would be death, life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The firearm specification, again, is 3 years mandatory, which must be served prior to and consecutive to any imposed prison sentence, and a possible fine of $25,000. If convicted of the underlying aggravated murder charge without any aggravating circumstance specification, the possible penalties are life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years, and life with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Again, the firearm specification is that 3 years mandatory, as well as a $25,000 fine.
Thank you. Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes?
We agree, Judge.
Okay. And Mr. Doerman, you understand? As to count 3, Ms. Barronell?
Thank you, Your Honor. Count 3 is also charged pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 290301A, aggravated murder on specified felony. It also carries with it.
Yes, they have to go through each of the charges individually at this hearing. Okay? They can't just say, hey, we're charging him with murder. They have to, put it into the record. It has to be in the record. They're crossing all their I's and dotting all their T's.
It's multiple aggravating circumstance specification, the victim under 13 specification, force of conduct specification, and felony murder specification, as well as that firearm specification. The possible penalties if convicted of the aggravated murder, as well as any of the aggravating circumstance specifications, would be death, life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Again, the firearm specification carries with it that 3 years mandatory, must be served prior to and consecutive to any imposed prison sentence, and the $25,000 fine is possible. If convicted of the aggravated murder without any aggravating circumstance specification, the possible penalties would be life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years, life with the possibility of parole after 20 years, and again, the firearm specification is 3 years mandatory and same fine.
Thank you. As to count 3, does the defense agree with the possible penalties that have been recited?
Yes, Your Honor, we do.
For the record, Mr. Haynes, Mr. Doerman, do you understand? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Barronell. And as to count 4, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Count 4 is charged pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 290301B, again, aggravated murder and unspecified felony. There are multiple aggravating circumstance specifications attached to that count as well. The same aggravating circumstance specifications for victim under 13, course of conduct specification, and felony murder specification, as well as that firearm specification. Again, convicted of aggravated murder, as well as any of the aggravating circumstance specifications, the possible penalties would be death, life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, or life with the possibility of parole after.
Okay, because I don't want to sit here and listen to all 21 charges, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, so bear with me.
25. Murder, as well as any of the aggravating circumstance specification, the possible penalties would be death.
So they're still going through all of that.
Parole after 25 years.
Oh my stars. Oh, okay, let's see.
Possibility of death, life without parole, life with the possibility of parole after 30 years, life with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Is he sitting there rocking, or is that my imagination? Is he sitting there rocking back and forth? Or am I just imagining that, or reading too much into it?
Fire specification carries with it 3 years mandatory, which must be served prior and consecutive to any imposed prison term, and the possibility of a fine up to $25,000. If convicted of aggravated And same firearm specification of 3 years mandatory, and that same possible fine of $25,000.
So what they're showing us is over here, off to the right, they are showing us footage from the day this happened.
We agree, Your Honor.
Recordings just got
let's
better.
skip ads,
Hey, it's
shall
Dana from
we?
StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Doerman, do you understand? Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'm going to ask to count 8, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. As to count 8, again, that is charged pursuant to revised code, section 290301C, aggravated murder and unspecified felony. There are multiple aggravating circumstance specifications attached to that count as well. The victim under 13 specification, course of conduct specification, felony murder specification, and firearm specification. If convicted of the crime of aggravated murder along with any of that aggravating circumstance specification, the possible penalties would be death, life without parole.
Okay, they're still going through each and every one of the counts.
Possibility of parole after 25 years.
Goodness gracious.
Charged pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 290501A3, as kidnapping, a felony of the first degree.
They're just to
also
the
a firearm.
kidnapping charges. Oh my stars.
And jury came to a conclusion, many conclusions about what he is facing right now. And what you're seeing going on in court is the judge, Judge Victor Haddad, has asked the court and the prosecutors to go through each one-to-one, make sure that the attorney and Chad Doerman himself understand what he is being charged with. All 21 of the charges. He has 9 counts of aggravated murder, 8 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of felonious assault that the grand jury came up with. So this is the arraignment. The first time he is hearing these charges in person. He's sitting.
That grand jury went fast, didn't it? Of course, they have special grand juries in some states, or cities or towns, based on population, etc., etc.
Sitting there in the orange next to his attorneys, does not have on the protective green vest that we saw him in last week, but he is hearing these charges for the first time, and we may get a plea deal at the end of all of this, so we'll send you back to the courtroom to continue to listen in. I think they have about 10 to 12 more charges to go through, and we will hear what the judge decides to do next once the prosecution finishes reading off each and every charge against Doerman for the alleged killing of his 3 sons, 7-year-old Clayton, 4-year-old Hunter, and 3-year-old Chase. We'll take you back to the courtroom right now.
Okay, and we're going to fast forward.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
We agree, Judge.
Okay, hang on. I might have fast forwarded too much.
Firearm specification is that 3 years mandatory, which should be served prior and consecutive to any other prison sentence imposed, and the possible fine is $15,000.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
We agree, Judge.
All right, Mr. Doerman, you understand?
Yes.
Thank you. As to count 19, please.
Count 19 is charged pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 290311A1. That is also felonious assault, felony of the second degree with a firearm specification. Again, there is a presumption for prison and breaking codes of fire.
We agree.
Trying-
Mr. Doerman, you
All right, if you're
understand?
just tuning into WLWT, this is the arraignment of Chad Doerman after he allegedly killed his 3 sons a little more.
Yes, we understand that, sweetheart, and we're trying to listen to it. We know who he is, and we just want the information. So thank you, but be quiet for a minute.
And by way of example, if 8 years was imposed, the prison term would be 8 to 12 years. The firearm specification is that 3 years mandatory, and the fine possible.
It's
is
taking them-
$15,000.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
We agree, Your Honor.
Mr. Doerman, you understand? All right, I think
All right.
that covers the entirety of the indictment.
It does, Your Honor.
All right. At this
It took them almost 30 minutes to read that indictment, to read all of those charges against Doerman.
time, Mr. Meyer.
Okay,
and
I
Mr.
don't know what
Haynes,
happened to my screen.
Based upon the recitation of the indictment and all the possible charges and possible sentences, what is the plea of your client at this time?
Plea is not guilty, Your Honor.
All right.
We reserve the right to file later pleas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because of the nature of,
Judge, I should say, I think Mr. Myers touched on it, but it hasn't been quite 24 hours since he was indicted or read the indictment, so he's going to waive the 24-hour waiting period.
okay, thank you. Would you please, Mr. Haynes, step up? And then if you and Mr. Myers could sign as attorneys for Mr. Doerman, and then have Mr. Doerman sign.
And this is all standard procedure. Again, dotting all their I's, crossing all their T's. Seriously, sharing really helps the algorithms, and it gets us seen by more people. And the more people we have on these lives, the different opinions and stuff, and that we can have. Hi, Angie G.
Most people have no clue that in 2023,
Yeah,
the
I don't
best way to make
have
money
enough
on
followers
Amazon
yet to get
is
rid of
not
these
with
damn commercials when I'm sharing, so. That's okay, Angie. We still love ya.
Thank you. So for the record, Mr. Haynes, you signed, Mr. Myers signed, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Doerman, you signed as well? All right.
I can't believe he pled not guilty.
As to bond, statement, is that called?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be discussing bond. Your Honor, as the court is aware, pursuant to Article 1, Section 9 of the Ohio Constitution, this...
Judge, we're not going to object to bond.
We pass on.
Meaning that if he's asking for, they're going to ask for a no bond.
Correct.
And
We're not opposing that.
Are
Oh,
you
they're not
comfortable with that?
opposing.
The Constitution says where proof is evident, and...
Continue. Go on, continue.
Judge, I think...
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Okay.
The court needs to have somewhere...
Even though the defense isn't, I think, going to object, I'm not sure. Maybe they're going to ask to lower it. I'm not sure.
Facts. What we have here is the planned slaughter of 3 little boys, ages 7, 4, and 3. The first one shot was a 4-year-old, shot in the house 2 times, then sustained 2 bullet wounds to the head, causing his death. The second child shot was a 7-year-old who fled the residence, ran some 300 feet from the residence, and was gunned down from behind by the defendant. We then approached this little boy who was injured, incapacitated, alive, shot him in the head twice.
Oh, God.
From close distance. There were powder burns on the boy's head. And then he went after the 3-year-old. And there was a struggle with the mother. He ripped the child from the mother's arms. Put a bullet in his head.
I didn't know
Close
that.
range. Powder burns on the 3-year-old boy's head.
Are you crying
Your
today?
Honor, those facts are important for the court to know in terms of this being a capital case. We find, Your Honor, my conclusion is that proof is evident and the presumption is great. That he be held without bail.
All right. Thank you. Defense has nothing to add.
No, Your Honor.
All right, the court's going to order based upon Article 1 of the Ohio Constitution, Section 9, that's been amended on November 8th of 2022. The bond in this case be no bail at the present time.
That makes sense. Yeah, I know, Amy. I didn't know all those details yet. The question that we all have is why? How could? Why would? What would possess a person to do this? And unfortunately, we're never going to have all the answers that we need or that we want. And my heart breaks for this mom. It truly, truly does break for this mother. And it was a good decision that the defense didn't fight bond because they realize one, he's not going to come up with $20 million. Number 2, he is probably safer in jail in solitary confinement, or not, it's not called that. It's when you're a special prisoner, high risk, etc., etc. They keep them locked up 23 out of 24 hours, and for their own safety. And we all know, we're all adults here, we all know what happens to people who hurt babies in prison.
And what the court's going to do is prepare an entry that contemplates that, because my normal judgment entries do not contemplate Article 1, Section 9. So we'll put one together indicating the court's order of no bail. Anything from the defense at this time? Anything else before the court notes that the case is assigned to Judge Ferentz? And the court date, we want to work around schedules. Do we have a date?
Originally, it was set for July 5th. Is there another day?
Okay, that's not
Is
the
there
trial.
that date?
It's just a follow-up hearing.
Can everyone do July 5th?
I can do that, Judge.
Yes,
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
July
Mr.
5th.
Myers?
It's going to be another hearing,
The 5th would work. I might
like a status
indicate, as
conference.
I'm now reminded by co-counsel Mr. Haynes, we're before this court the following day on Mr. Guilfoyle's case, and I would wonder if,
At 10:30.
I mean, obviously I'll work with both court schedules.
Well, we want to work with your schedule, but I think the heightened security is a little too much for us to
Exactly.
have both of them
Oh, I see.
at the same time, because they're both death penalty cases.
Gilroy or Guilfoy? Anybody else know what other trials are going on out there that he's talking about? Anybody? Anybody? So apparently these two attorneys have a client in another matter who's going to who has a trial on, or a hearing on July 6th, and I think they said Guilfoy or Gilroy. I'm gonna have to look into that, because the judges mentioned that the security for both of these men is far too high and they can't do it in the same day. And Amy, when you say he was wearing a bulletproof vest earlier, do you mean when at his bond hearing? But Brian Kohlberger isn't in Ohio, Amy. What about Brian Kohlberger? I don't know. But anyway, Amy, if you were talking about a bulletproof vest from the bond hearing when they set it at $20 million, which was the day after the murders themselves, that was not a bulletproof vest. That was an unalive myself vest. Oh, when they brought him in the courthouse today? Okay, I didn't see that part. But yeah, he needs that, because he's not necessarily liked by all right now.
So
But I know you've come a long way, but
that's all right. Part of the job.
All right.
So we'll be down here on the 5th for a pre-trial then?
yes.
Okay.
So on the
And
5th is
we're
the
looking at
pretrial.
time, because I'm trying not to insert it on his regular docket so that Judge Ferentz has some time.
Gotcha.
It could be 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 1 o'clock.
About 11.
11?
All right, everybody.
I will be watching that.
Does that work for everyone?
Fine.
Okay, 11 o'clock. For the court's own edification, Mr. Doerman, can you please tell me how old you are?
32.
And what's your date?
He's 32. Okay, I'm actually adding this to my calendar. This is my ADD at work. If I don't do it now, it's not going to be added. So they said 11 o'clock. So I'm adding that. Chad Doerman pretrial. Oh, come on, Susan, you can spell. at 11 a.m. Bear with me, people. I love y'all. You're just so sweet and so good to me, and for being patient. Okay.
Date of birth,
3191?
and are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes.
All right. At this point, then, Mr. Haynes or Mr. Myers, is there anything else that you want the court to consider?
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one
ClickUp
productivity
is a pain
software
in my
where you
ass
can manage
because it's a
everything
commercial
and
destroying
anything.
my live stream. Stop it.
Just on the technical front, we would waive the reading of the indictment. We discussed that
Thank
with
you.
Mr. Doerman at length yesterday.
Thank you.
They just read the indictment. What the hell are you talking about?
Will the defense have any issue, I'm just asking, waiving time till the next hearing?
No, Your Honor.
No.
All right. Terry, can you tell me that date again, please?
July 5th at 11 a.m., sir.
And we're going to call it a free trial.
Right?
And then, Mr. Myers and Mr. Haynes, would you please sign as attorneys for the defense?
I see what you're saying now, Amy. No, in this same courthouse in Claremont County, Ohio, they have apparently another high-profile case going on, and I'm going to Google that when we're done. Hello to all those who are just joining us. We are watching the hearing in the Chad Doerman case where he has just pled not guilty. And for those of you watching on the replay crew, thank you. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like and share. Subscribe if you haven't. And we'll get back to this. And then we'll open it up for questions and talking and stuff, okay?
Defendant and Mr. Doerman sign, and then have one or all three of the prosecutors sign.
That'll take a moment.
Bless you. For the record, Mr. Haynes, you signed the time waiver.
Yes,
We
everybody
did,
signed.
Mr. Doerman did, Mr. Myers did, Judge, yes.
And Mr. Doerman, you signed it.
Yes.
Mr. Prosecutor.
I did, Judge.
All right, the court signed it. Also, the court received, for the record, the appointment of trial counsel on the capital case. Here it is. Mr. Haynes and Mr. Myers, I need both of you, one to side as lead and one as co-counsel, if you would, so we can get that to the Supreme Court. Let me make sure.
Okay. So the reason that they're doing that, splitting time while I finish watching Biggins' case. Oh, tell him I said hi. And tell him to get his butt over here when he's done. Black ice. Oh, guy. Hi, Holly. I don't know, Holly. I don't know. So anyway, apparently the two lawyers, Mr. Haynes and Mr. Myers, are already qualified in capital cases, and as you all know, a capital case is a death penalty case. And you have to be qualified, you have to be certified in those types of cases, and it requires a lot of extra work and schooling and experience and stuff on the part of the lawyers. Anyway, they have to submit that in Ohio ahead of time, because let's say that the prosecution does go for the death penalty, and let's say he is found guilty by a jury of his peers, then it is an automatic. Death penalty cases have automatic appeals. All right, so they are just giving advance notice to the Supreme Court of Ohio, which that is where it would go, to the state court, the state Supreme Court, that this is a capital case, and heads up, basically, is what they're doing. What's Scott Peterson trial? Black Ice? There's not a new one, right? You're watching the old one? Oh, that's okay. Maybe I'll do it earlier sometime or a different night. But I just love Biggin. I do. I think he's awesome. So we're going to finish this up and then we will open it. We will open the floor for discussions.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be the trial judge on this, because it's going to be Judge Ferris. I think you need to put Judge Ferris on there.
This is just such a sad case. It's beyond sad. It's maddening.
On there because, so, the only issue is because your signatures, I don't know if these are signatures or if we can just put your name. I think we have to sign. We do have to sign.
This is all, red tape stuff they're dealing with now.
So we'll be on and try to get that. Let's see if I have anything else on my list. Anything else, defense? Anything the state can think of?
No, Your Honor.
Any questions, Mr. Doerman?
Okay.
All right. Court's in recess for this purpose.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay. I still hear it. Oh, da 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 da. I forgot to close out the window. Let's see. Okay, the school shooting where the guard sat out this school. Oh, and didn't go in. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you for catching me up. I was thinking of the Scott Peterson, Scott Lacey. That was the one. Yes. Yes, thank you. I understand now. I understand. I'm all caught up. See, sometimes you've got to draw Susan a map, a complete map with pictures and everything. You just have to. So my thoughts on this. I just don't know why he's pled not guilty. The evidence they've got, I don't know what the defense strategy is at this point. I really don't. I don't know if they are going to go for an insanity plea. That's the only thing that comes to mind. Why would you plead not guilty when you were caught? Everybody knows you did it. There are multiple witnesses. You admitted to doing it. And now you want to plead not guilty. So they've got to be going for an insanity plea. That's the only thing I can think of. Oh, thank you for keeping me updated, Black Eye Soul Guy. I appreciate it. That is the only thing that makes sense to me. I would love to hear what you all think. You can either leave a comment here, or if you're watching in the replay crew, I do read the messages. Let me know what you think, because I truly am interested. I don't know. We don't have a reason yet, Black Ice. We don't. We don't know what the reason behind it is. There's a lot of conjecture. There are a lot of rumors going on. In fact, I want to show you something I saw earlier, which kind of really pissed me off. Let me pull up this. And it didn't necessarily piss me off, but show of hands, who else here watches the behavior panel? Oh yeah, I know, Black Ice. It's what's floating around chat. It's what's floating around everywhere. But I want to show you something that I saw earlier today. Sometimes people think there are circumstances that need to be taken into consideration. I agree, Mary. I agree. In certain cases, there are circumstances that need to be taken into consideration. And yes, firm believer that you are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But I think there's very little doubt in this situation. So anyway, let me do this. Okay, we're going to rewind this. I want to share this with you because And there's a reason why I'm sharing this, okay? So just hang on. And I want you to listen to very carefully, not to just what this man says, but also to what he doesn't say and how he says it.
Dude was an asshole.
He's talking about... Yeah, this is Richard Kincannon. He lives across the street from the Doermans. And this is what he has to say about it. And I find it very interesting. And we will discuss it when we're done playing it.
You felt like he was just angry, generally speaking.
He was every day. Heard him. There wasn't a day he didn't yell at his wife and kids out there.
What would he yell?
Okay. He was just angry, yelling at her all the time, treating her like.
So when you look at that house now, what do you see?
I still see the babies sitting in the yard, laying in the yard. One was right there by the tree, right by the road, not even 20 feet from the road right there. This is where that dude lay in. Laid the one up there right beside that silver truck to the left of the tire, about 5 foot. That's all I see every time I come out here. For any man to even think about doing that, it's just no words can explain it.
Okay. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay.
Dude was an asshole.
Okay. So, when we look at this, oh, yes, I understand Black Ice, what you're saying. But we don't, okay, it's quite, if, for instance, he was an untreated schizophrenic, it's Ohio, Black Ice. There are sometimes extreme extenuating circumstances that do need to be taken into consideration. I don't know if there are any extreme extenuating circumstances to take into consideration when considering this case. I don't have all the information yet. And for those of you who know me for a long time, that followed me over from, been with me since day one, you know, I don't jump on bandwagons, and I want all the information that I can find. That's just who I am. Now, back to this neighbor. I don't know what to think of this. Especially when...
You felt like he was just angry, generally speaking.
He was every day.
Okay, watch what he does.
Heard him.
Okay. I don't have a baseline for this guy. I'm not the behavior panel, but there are just the way he's talking and the way he looks away and the way he doesn't look at her kind of bothers me.
There wasn't a day he didn't yell at his wife and kids.
Here's the
out
part
there.
I want you to pay attention to.
What would he yell?
Okay.
All kinds of shit. That doesn't mean anything. Right? All kinds of shit. Had I been her, I would have wanted to know what kind of shit. Was he calling them names? Was he being cruel? Was he, give me examples of the stuff this man would say to his children. I want examples. I want hard examples. Okay? Don't just tell me, well, he said all sorts of shit. That's not an answer. That's a non-answer. And that bothered me in this interview. I've watched, not the last few days, but immediately when this happened, within that first 24 to 48 hours, neighbors weren't talking about Chad Doerman as if they knew him. None of them were. They were all saying, this never happens here. This is a quiet, safe space. Beautiful area, blah, blah, blah. So the whole point of me showing you this is to take everything you hear about this case with a very large grain of salt. Because some people just want to say things to get on TV or get on a webcast or whatever. And in truth, what they're really doing is just blowing smoke out their ass because they don't know. They don't have facts. And that's what we're about here. We want the facts. We don't want... We can speculate. We can. That's always fun to speculate. We're all entitled to our opinions. It's a safe space, so we don't argue and we don't name call and we don't cuss at people. And I think it is okay to speculate, but to take that speculation as gospel, or to say something like, well, I heard it from my third cousin's niece, who happened to at one time worked with the cousin of a guy who worked directly with Chad Doerman. That's not facts. That's a game of telephone, which just ends up ugly for everybody. Yeah, why didn't he call the cops on the guy? Yeah, I saw him grin. No, I don't blame them for wanting to distance themselves from him, but what I am saying, Black Ice, is that in a situation like this, and this is not the first time something like this has happened, they would say, you know what? I've known this guy for years. He is constantly pissed off. That would have been things that they would have said immediately after the fact, right? When this is all breaking news and the police are still there and the news trucks are showing up and everybody's, I mean, you're in that state of mind where you're not necessarily thinking clearly, and you're just in this state of shock. And you're going to say things like, we never heard a peep out of them. These were the nicest people. We don't know what happened. Or you're going to say something like, this guy was a pain in our ass all the time. We fought all the time. I heard him yelling at his kids all the time. We called the cops all the time, blah, blah, blah. None of that happened in that first 48 hours after this event. Yeah, he said, yeah, I saw that too, Amy. I watched all of the body cam footage. Yes, the court of public opinion is widely skewed more often than not. Exactly. Your neighbors, your next door neighbors could be fighting. You don't hear the exact words, right? But you can hear the tone of voice. Right? Yeah, he was doing that too, Black Ice. Yep. Yeah, he knew. That part I don't doubt that he did see. I really don't. That pissed me off too, Amy, when they got there and they had thrown him on the ground. Dude, what's going on? Nothing. Excuse me? You just brutally... I have to be careful with the words we use here on YouTube because I don't want to get in any trouble because I'm still a newbie. But you brutally hurt, brutally unalived your 3 sons and you want to say nothing's going on? And then the very next day when he's at his bond hearing, he's just bawling his eyes out, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe there's more to this. Because I really believed, even now, that those were genuine tears. I could be wrong. But from that point to today's hearing, when we just saw him, I thought that was an odd change in his behavior, because either they have him medicated, right? Or something else is going on. But he sat there very stoically, very calmly. There's a couple times when it looked like he was rocking back and forth. But something is definitely far different than in his countenance than what we saw at his bond hearing the day after. That's true, Mary. Exactly, Black Ice. a lot of people will, anybody can justify anything, right? Anybody can justify their behavior. And yeah, anybody can justify their behavior. Now, whether or not that justification is based in any form of actual reality or how the rest of the world might look at it, that's a totally different story, right? But in those circumstances, yeah, they're divorcing themselves from reality. I don't know, Black Ice. I really thought at that time those were tears of I regret what I did. I thoroughly believe that. Now I'm not so sure. Yes, Amy, that is correct. Man is, okay, all right, let's look at this. Man is not a rational animal. Man is a rationalizing animal. I'm very curious how he rationalized this. Good question, Black Ice. Very good question. And I don't have answers for that because when I write my books, I can get to a certain extent into the mind of my bad guys, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That I can do. Fictionally speaking. When I'm writing a fictional character, I understand why they're doing what they're doing because I'm making this person up, right? But when it comes to the real world and things like this, I can't wrap my head around it, right? I just can't. It does not make a damn bit of sense to me. Fictionally, I have no problem doing it, but in the real world, I just can't. In real life, I just can't. I don't know how he's rationalizing it, how he's going to justify it, but he will in order to save his own sanity, if that is, possible. But there are depths to which your own imagination absolutely will not go. At least there are in mine. Exactly, Black Ice. There are depths, there are places I won't go. I can't go, right? The reason key is broken. You are right, Mary. The reason key is broken. And that's really, truly, awfully sad. So, if you have any ideas on trials that you'd like me to talk about, or cases, body cam footage, anything like that, anything you would like me to discuss on one of our Friday Night Lives, please email them to me at susan@susantisdale.com. I'm always looking for ideas for the show. What I find interesting, maybe not everybody else will, but just know I appreciate you all being here tonight and discussing this unfolding case with me. I do find these things interesting in that I do try, maybe I know it's futile to try to understand why this person is doing what they're doing, but that is something that I think that's why I'm interested in it. Why would they do what they did? And I know we'll never get the answer. I'm fascinated by the legal side of things, how the courts run and how the judge behaves and how each side behaves and what their duties are and all of that. I do find the topic fascinating. I do. And not fascinating in a giggling kind of way, but fascinating is that I'm keenly interested in how the whole process works and in finding out why a criminal does what he does. So that's my thought process behind it. No, not yet, Black Ice. We are working on it, though. We are working on it. We've got, Pam Up was crazy. We've got things going on in the back channels, and we'll be doing more come Monday. So anyway, but I'm going to sign off because it is 7:40 and we've been on here for over an hour. And I haven't had dinner yet. So I'm going to let you all go. I hope you all do have a great and safe and cool weekend. It's hotter than hubs of, well, I can't say that. It was really hot here today, but it's only June. We are in a drought. That is the only saving grace with this heat, is that there's no humidity with it, but we really need the rain. We are desperate for rain. So if you've all got any extra rain to spare, please send it here to Illinois, in the Midwest, where we could really, really, truly use it. But anyway, I'm going to sign off. I hope you all have a great weekend, a safe weekend, and a very cool weekend. And again, my email is susan@susantisdale.com. And I just thank you all for being here. And I hope everybody just has a good weekend. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.